Every single day, Donald Trump puts his pudding brain on display, and every single day, the mainstream media refuses to cover his cognitive decline. But it's getting much more difficult for them to do so as Donald Trump is melting down so publicly. And that is exactly what we saw in an insane speech he gave today, in which not only did he lose the ability to speak at times, but started busting out slurs in the middle of his speech. It was an abomination that we're going to get into, but before we do, if I could quickly ask you to leave a like on this video, and if you haven't already and you enjoy our channel, to hit that subscribe button because it goes a long way to support our work. Now, this speech was insane through and through, but where it started was pretty crazy too. Donald Trump complaining about his birthday parade.
3 hours of watching these great guys marching down Fifth Avenue. It never rained. And then I thought to myself, global warming, they're telling us what's going to happen in 250 years to our planet, but they can't tell us it's going to rain 3 hours before the event. In 250 years from now, the planet's going to burn up or freeze up. And you know, remember when they said, they called it global warming, then global cooling? They had all different things. Now they just changed it to climate change, because climate change you can't miss. How's it doing? Climate change every time. If it's cold, if it's hot, if it's rainy, if it's sunny, if it's too crazy, we have climate change. But think of it. They're telling you what's going to happen in 100 years. The oceans are going to rise 1/4 of an inch and everyone's going to be wiped out. No, you're going to have more oceanfront property if that happens. It's okay. Not the worst. And think of it.
It is no surprise that Donald Trump is still all caught up and angry and has got his little feelings hurt that no one showed up to his birthday party. It's actually the reason why Donald Trump just rammed his budget through Congress, because he wanted to throw himself a makeup party on the 4th of July to sign the worst piece of legislation in modern American history. That is the whole point of this. It's the only reason they were passing it so quickly. All of this is just a politics of petty personal grievance, and that continued as Donald Trump talked about renaming forts in a very, very stupid way.
But we just celebrated the 250th anniversary of the Army at Fort Bragg. You know, they changed the name, and we changed it back to Fort Bragg. The people of North Carolina came up, they said, "Sir, we want to really have the name of Fort Bragg back." Everybody was saying that. They kept calling it Fort Bragg. I changed it back. You know, these radical left lunatics changed the name of Fort Bragg. So we won World War II. We won World War I. We won other wars. We won everything from Fort Bragg and other places that we were also changing many of them back. And then we decided to change the name. Now, I tell people, you know, it's incredible. We're the only.
We won the other wars at the other forts with all the winning, and the forts have always been there. Is anyone listening to this guy? Like, seriously, is anyone in the mainstream press besides Lawrence O'Donnell who actually will cover the story of Donald Trump's cognitive decline? Do they seem to care at all? Because I'm not really seeing it at all. He just continues to put on display the fact that he can't think clearly. He's being taken advantage of by everyone around him because of that. You wonder why billionaires like Donald Trump so much. It's because they can get whatever they want out of him. He just doesn't understand anything. Listen to him talking about a poll out of context about nothing here.
And one of the great economists from the Wharton School of Finance, where I happened to go, he apologized. He says, you know, I think Trump outsmarted us all. And yesterday was the poll, and out of 77 economists, I came in second. I want to find the guy that came in first. Somebody came in first. Can you believe it? But we said what was going to happen, and it's happening. And I'll tell you what, we had the greatest economy in the history of my first term. This is going to blow it away. You watch. This is going to blow it away.
So that was a little bit of the prelude that led up to the really shocking moments. Donald Trump saying that there was a poll of economists and he came in second out of 77. 77 what? Second out of what? What does this even mean? It doesn't make any sense. But the inability to speak
and very importantly for Iowa, this bill
really
rescues
got
over
pretty
2 million
strange
family
with two
farms
clips I
from
want
the
to play back
so-called
to back
estate
right
tax
here.
or the death tax. In other words, before Trump, you were losing farms to the banks. Before Trump, you were losing the farms like nobody's ever seen before. You love your children. You don't feel so well. You pass away. You leave everything to your children, and they have to pay a big estate tax or a death tax, as we call it. and they couldn't do it. They go out and borrow money, and all of a sudden the bank is foreclosing on the farm. Not going to happen. You have no more estate tax. You have no more death tax to pay. But if you love them, or if you love somebody that you're leaving it to, think of that. No death tax, no estate tax, no going to the banks and borrowing from, in some cases, a fine banker, and in some cases, Shylocks and bad people. But they.
So in the first clip, Donald Trump says he's saved 2 billion farms. That's not right. That doesn't make any sense. And then Donald Trump refers to bankers that he doesn't like as Shylocks. Again, is nobody paying attention? Is it just us? Is it just me and you observing how much he has lost it? I know he wasn't, super in tune throughout any point of his life, but he's come unhinged. Now more so than ever, and especially as he gets angry, he unloads, he exaggerates, he's out of control. Just take a look at the Joe Biden impression he started doing on stage.
Remember Biden had always used to say, it's an existential threat. He loves the word existential. It's an existential threat. What is? I don't know, climate change. Remember that? Always, that's dangerous too, because they're going to take that sentence, and they're going to say, he couldn't say existential. So you can't imitate people either. Remember?
I love how Trump, I don't love it, but I'm just like, I have to laugh at how whenever Trump does something stupid and idiotic and ridiculous, he then decides that it's the media's fault for observing it. He does a ridiculous Joe Biden impression, and no one's going to take that clip out of context and say, that's how Trump actually acted. But he does something stupid like that, or he says we have to go after the enemy from within. And then immediately he says, well, the press is going to spin that out of context. Well, the context is you're doing a Joe Biden impression and you look ridiculous because you're furious. For some reason, I guess you wanted the tax cuts for billionaires to be more. What did you want? 20 million people kicked off their health care. The 17 million wasn't enough. Passing the worst budget in American history, it wasn't enough for you. Clearly not, because Donald Trump still has got a lot of hate in that heart, and he made it pretty well known to all of us right here.
I want to thank Republican congressmen and women, because what they did is incredible last night, and the Senate, the Republican Senate. We got, not with all of the things we did with the tax cuts and rebuilding our military, not one Democrat voted for us. And I think we use it in the campaign that's coming up, the midterms, because we got to beat them. But all of the things that we've given, and they wouldn't vote only because they hate Trump. But I hate them too, you know that? So it's sort of, I really do, I hate them. I cannot stand them because I really believe they hate our country. You want to know the truth?
I don't want to belabor the point, but I feel like I'm not. I feel like I'm just saying what needs to be said. He's an insane person. And, we use the term, I love on this show, of the pudding brain. Donald Trump has the pudding brain not only because it is mush, but because it's very easy to mold, right? We broke that story, broke it down. We were talking about how after Donald Trump saw the positive coverage by Fox of Israel's strike on Iran, he not only wanted to take credit, but get involved. This is a man who has so lost it that the last person to talk to him is essentially the one making decisions. Couple that with Donald Trump giving the presidency complete control over our government. There are no checks on Trump, especially from his own party. So you have a very powerful and easily influenced moron in the Oval Office with competing interests fighting over his ear to find new and more destructive ways to wreck the country to serve very small interest groups, whether those are the most hateful people in our country, Stephen Miller, or the richest, the billionaires that are having Donald Trump craft his tax plan. That's who has the ear of the pudding-brained president. That's pretty scary. And I think the media should cover it, especially when he's attacking them like this.
4 or 5 years ago, I mean, we have a lot of people that they allowed into the country that are serious criminals. A lot of them are on their way out, however. Iran's nuclear enrichment has been obliterated. Remember when CNN said, it wasn't obliterated? It was maybe damaged or damaged badly, but obliterated is too strong a word. No, it was obliterated. That's now been proven. The Atomic Energy Commissions, everything that's been obliterated. And they were trying to demean me by saying that, but they were really demeaning those great pilots and people and mechanics that got those planes over there and were able to shoot from high up in the air going very, very fast with potentially a lot of things being shot at them and hit every single one, every single. They're trying to demean me, but to me they were demeaning them. And they got out of the plane and they said, what the hell? We hit every single target. They know better than anybody. But now that's been proven. It's CNN fake news and scammers that work for them, scam writers that work for them. But we understand it and we fight it back. And a lot of people say, sir, don't criticize it because they're beneath you. No, they're not beneath me. Nobody's beneath. You got to put it. Otherwise, people don't understand. If you don't say something about it, you got to say it. These people did one of the greatest military hits and maneuvers in the history of our country, and I want them to be appreciated for it. And we reject government discrimination and so-called diversity, equity, and inclusion mandates. They're just about washed out the window, actually. They're just about over with. We're just about finished. In this country, we believe in hard work and we believe in merit. And by the way, we're allowed to have merit. We're now back to being a merit-based system. We had a decision in the United States Supreme Court. Our country is now a country based on merit. We oppose censorship, price controls, open borders, and sex changes for children.
Again, not to belabor the point, but I feel like I should. He's lost his damn mind. And it is a failure of the press to not cover it, whether it be for the fact that they are afraid of their corporate overlords, which is why independent media is so important, because we're happy to talk about how Donald Trump is in cognitive decline, or they're just distracted with other issues. The New York Times today was reporting on how friend of the show, Zoran Mamdani, ticked off both that he was a South Asian man and also an African American man when applying to college. Now, Zoran Mamdani was born in Africa, so that is technically true. Not technically true, it is true. But that's what the New York Times was reporting on today. Zoran's college application, as Donald Trump jammed through the worst budget we've ever seen. As the man is in decline, the media has failed us. It is up to us now to focus and to call this out. We're going to be doing so on this show. We don't care about college applications. We care about cognitive decline. If you want to support that, as always, you can hit that subscribe button, leave a like on this video, and if you stuck around to the end, drop a blue heart in the comments. And until next time, I'll see you soon.